that were submitted via email, and then answer the questions that you, the participants, submit during this conversation. I'm going to be keeping time, so none of you have to worry about that. And you want you all to ask all the questions, and we want to get as many answers as possible, but I will move us along just to make sure we get through this on time. We do have a hard out at 8 o'clock. So don't want to waste any more time. Dr. Lathan, I'll open the floor for your opening statement.
Good evening, Keith. Thank you again for the opportunity to discuss not only HISD's reopening plan, but also the upcoming 2020-21 school year.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. And with that, we want to go ahead and get to that very first question. And today, Dr. Lathan, we saw that the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, he sent out a guidance letter that said local governments do not have the legal right to stop schools from reopening in person. That clearly is at least in part directed at Harris County's order last week that was issued to keep schools from opening for in-person learning until September 8th. How could that guidance from the Attorney General impact HISD's reopening plans?
Actually, I don't see that it has any impact. Our decision around our reopening and to delay the start of the school year and to operate virtually the first 6 weeks of school was actually announced prior to the order that was issued on Friday by the county judge. So I don't see it having an impact on HISD.
Okay. I can be heard. There are some people who are saying that I'm muted, but I should be being heard by everybody now. Okay.
We can hear you now. Yeah, we couldn't hear you at first.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. Thank you for that answer. Next question comes from Carrie L. Carrie asks, what determines when school will open 100% face-to-face?
Great question, Carrie. And also, in addition to the order that the county judge released on Friday, she mentioned that her office would also be sharing some thresholds and information with local school districts. For me, and what we've discussed with our communicable disease plan committee is the level. So right now, you know, Harris County is a level 1. And so as we think about being on level 1 is severe, moving to a level 2, level 3, as we start approaching October 19th, which is the date that we're scheduled to bring students back in a phase-in approach. Also, the reduction in positive COVID-19 cases in our city will also have an impact. And then additional information that we might receive not only from the CDC, but other local health officials.
And for Morris W., the question is, what efforts and activities have been instituted for the underserved students with respect to technology, internet access, and their social, emotional situations?
So actually, you know, in March, when we actually had to move to a virtual format, we actually started deploying technology out to our students. Our student information system is showing that we need to deploy about 23,000 more devices to our students. And as those devices are coming in, and when I say devices, I'm referring to iPads for our pre-K2 students, Chromebooks for our elementary, middle school students, and then all of our high school students. Actually, every high school student in the district already has their own laptop. In addition to that, we are providing hotspots. So it's our goal to make sure that any child that is in need of a device, including internet capabilities or accessibilities, will have that device by September the 8th. Can I add? Okay, so yes. If I know you're going to ask that question. If a parent is in need, they can do one or two things: contact their school or call 713-556-4636. Provide us the information, and then we will get that information to the school. That's our district hotline, and it actually opens on Monday, August the 3rd.
Okay, Monday, August 3rd. And just a follow-up question for that, for parents who have more than one child who are in school, and you're going to need more than one laptop because they won't be able to work on the same one. They will be able to, say they have 3 kids, will they be able to ask for 3? How will that work?
Yes, it is our goal to place a device in every pre-K8 student's hand. Initially, if there is one, like a high school student, they have a middle school sibling, they can share initially, but our goal is for every child on September the 8th to have their own device, including students, multiple students in one household.
Right, okay. Dr. Lathan, as you know, activities are really important to a lot of families and a lot of kids. Christine P. asks, will there be clubs or sports offered at all in smaller sizes or other opportunities to bring kids together safely?
When we transition back face to face, we will start back with athletics, extracurriculars, of course, in a reduced fashion with the number of students. But I definitely agree that socialization and sportsmanship that you learn by being in a group, not only participate in athletics, but band, UIL academics, we will continue, we will offer that, but it will be based on physical distancing.
Okay. Stephanie W. asks, she says, I have an incoming kindergartner. We love that we will have the opportunity to be learning remotely as we both have asthma and don't feel it's safe to send her to school in the current climate. I'm concerned, she says, about her learning the important fundamentals they usually learn in kindergarten, like learning to read. How do you think instruction will be administered to them remotely?
Well, we've spent a large amount of time this summer working on our instructional continuity plan. So there's a guidebook for all of our teachers and principals in the district of how to implement instruction in a virtual format, including for our kindergarten students. Of course, we all remember, well, maybe we can't remember, we might remember when our own children went to kindergarten, and that's an exciting time. And so teachers virtually will show students what they'll see their virtual classrooms. Eventually, they will actually see their brick and mortar classroom. Teaching students to read even in kindergarten, actually the teacher will be able to do that virtually. Students will still participate in small group instruction, whole group instruction, and we'll be providing tutoring services for students that need it. So it's going to be a great experience either way for that rising kindergarten student.
Gotcha. And this comment question comes from Kristen L. And she's asking about kids who have special needs or are on a 504 plan during the virtual learning period. She says her son has dyslexia and other learning disadvantages, not able to learn in virtual classrooms, and she can't imagine what other parents are going through or who are worse off. What is the district doing to address those special needs students?
Initially, there will be virtual instruction for all students, but we are also working and we'll be addressing that individually with students, whether they have a 504 or an IEP, especially as it relates to our dyslexia students. Our dyslexia specialists, they are assigned across the districts to campuses, and they support students. They'll be working with those parents. And then as we get closer to October 19th, which is our face-to-face, there will be some possible opportunities, unless, like I said, something changes with this order or whatever other orders that might come out from the state, where there will be some face-to-face provided for students to have a special education or IEP or 504 plan. And if there's a question, what I'd like for her to do is to reach out to her school, just ensure, but like I said, teachers are back on duty on August the 24th. Additional staff are coming in prior to that time to start making those contacts. Also, our Special Populations Department will be sending some additional information out the week of August the 10th to parents as it relates to special populations, and that's special education, that's dyslexia students, students that are second language students.
Amy G has a question. She says, once students are able to return to in-person learning, how will HISD limit class sizes at the elementary level to allow for appropriate social distancing? Are split morning/afternoon schedules or split every other day schedules being considered? She says their school already is overfilled and there just doesn't seem to be enough square footage in the building to safely accommodate every student at the same time.
So we are looking at split days, not split days, A day, B day. So one half of the class would report on Monday. So let's go with October 19th. One half of the class would report on October the 19th. The other half of the class would report on October 20th. And so it would be an A day, B day. What we're looking at, though, is there are some of our campuses that can accommodate all of their students and then still physically distance those students. So we have several options that we're looking at and planning. I want you to go back now, it's been, 3 years to Hurricane Harvey. If you remember, we opened schools in waves. You're going to see the same thing as we get closer to October the 19th. Prior to that time, we're going to be listing and sharing with parents their child's schedule. So that schedule could be 5 days a week, it could be 3 days a week, and then rotating. But that's the plan, and we're looking at that. We are also looking at additional space where we have some closed campuses where we might be able, or some campuses that have portable classrooms where other half of that class might be attending at a different location.
Understood. Okay. From Anushka T, she says, during the virtual learning phase, will the amount of time dedicated to live teacher instruction vary according to grade level? In other words, will it be different for elementary, middle school, and high school students, the amount of time dedicated to live teacher instruction?
Yes, it will vary based on the age or grade level of their child. And that information will be shared out. The schools will be hosting a virtual open house, meet the teacher night, similar to what we've done in the past. Everything's going to be virtual. And they'll be sharing, just like they would do at an open house, they'll be sharing that daily schedule of what that screen time will look like for elementary students, middle school students, and high school students.
Okay. Vanessa R asks, will the pre-K birthday cutoff of September 1st be extended to a later date?
It's that state law is September 1st. So it will not, unless, like I said, unless the state extends it, we have to abide by the September 1st date.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Christine T asks, who will decide which HISD teachers will teach in person and which HISD teachers will teach virtually? Is that a principal level decision, or would that be a decision you would make at your level, Dr. Lathan?
So decisions about virtual instruction will be made initially at the campus level based on the number of students that select that virtual format. Also, teachers will have the opportunity to request to teach virtually. And so we will see a combination. You'll see some teachers teaching their own students virtually. Others, you will see teachers teaching across the district, because if we don't have enough students from one particular school that selects a virtual format, a particular teacher, like I said, think about it from a high school standpoint. A high school Algebra 1 teacher or Algebra 2 could teach students across the entire district. And so that will be determined based on the number of parents that select virtual and the number of students that we have returning face-to-face.
So now we know we have not only parents and guardians who have a lot of questions, but also teachers and staff members. This one comes from an employer or contract worker. The question is from Chantel D, and she asks, how will employers who are contracted with HISD be covered if they get the virus?
So if they're and every contracts are different. So I'm going to just speak generally. If you are a district employee, there are rights afforded to you as a district employee. Go to our human resources page. It has information there. They're also based on the CARES Act, additional leave time that's been afforded to employees. And so if they are a contract, or we've entered into a contract with an agency, that agency is still their employer. But if they are an HISD employee, go to our district website, and that information is on our human resources website. And same request that you would need to apply for leave, but we have that information available. So it varies from if they're a contractor versus a district employee.
Okay. Ryan J has this question: will the access of online education materials be standardized across the district?
Access will, yes, great question. It will be standardized across the district as it relates to the various platforms, the instructional software that we're providing as a district. Schools have the option, like they normally do, to purchase additional resources that an individual classroom teacher might want to utilize with their students. But we have purchased several things across the entire district.
And I think this might be from Ryan J as well, the same individual, but he's also asks about mask policy depending on age. Does every student pre-K all the way through 12 have to wear a mask, or what are the age limitations, age restrictions?
Every staff member, every student has to wear a mask. We will be providing them unless they have a medical issue that prevents them from wearing a mask. But we will be providing a mask daily for all staff and for all students.
We're now going to take some questions from the group chat, the people who are on right now, and I'm going to do my best just to go from top to bottom from what I see. We have Angela Lane, who is asking, will there be a virtual option beyond October 19th? If so, any idea how that will look?
Yes, so the virtual option, there will be a virtual option beyond October 19th. On August the 24th, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to do a call out district-wide to every parent for them to select what they would like for the option to be for their child after October 16th. And then what that will look like will be driven by numbers, the number of students that are returning face-to-face, the number of students that are that have selected virtual. And as I stated earlier, students might be assigned to continue with the current teacher that they have face-to-face, or they could possibly be assigned a different teacher in a virtual format. But everything is, and it's just like anything else, even when we're face-to-face, everything is driven by numbers and enrollment.
And to ask this question, Dinka Wangdi says, if the COVID numbers don't improve, is there a possibility that school won't start until 2021? And I assume they mean in person.
Yes, if the numbers remain where they are or get higher, there's a possibility that we would continue in a virtual format. And like I said, we're prepared to do that, but we really want to see our teachers and our students back face to face.
And from Lucy, her question, she says, my question is, if a teacher is diabetic and has an immune system problem, will they be able to do virtual only? Would they be allowed to teach virtually only if they didn't feel it was safe for them to be in the classroom face to face?
They will be able to submit a request, and then we have several. Like I said, like any other employer, we have our accommodations committee review, we have FML, or we have teachers being able to make that request. And so there's a process in place that staff members would have to follow in order to make that request.
Vamala asks, how will textbooks, learning materials, library books be circulated? She brings up Montessori public education. They use intensive hands-on materials. How will the students be getting those and getting those safely?
So as it relates to library books, we have a great partnership with the Houston Public Library. So every child, every staff member, and every child has actually a library card. And so we will utilize our partnership with the Houston Public Library. We also have our own students have access to actual novels through another platform, and so that will be available. So no hard books or library books will be distributed while we're in virtual format. As it relates to manipulatives, similar to what they mentioned around the Montessori or even in our primary or elementary schools, we are looking into schools providing manipulatives to students, but it will be a very limited number of manipulatives to make sure that everything has been cleaned and sanitized. And so that's what we're working on right now, because definitely, like I said, for elementary and definitely Montessori curriculum, everything is, they are utilizing a lot of manipulatives.
This question also comes from Lucy. Don't know if it's the same Lucy as before, but question is, she thanks you for being here and thinking of your teachers and students with a new plan. But she says she's had several parents asking about transfers and when they will be notified about those transfers.
Transfers, next week. So August the 3rd. And let me just talk about, outside of this pandemic closure, this is the time of year when we're closing off 1 year through our student information system, transferring over. And what's delayed this year by about 2 weeks is we're moving to a brand new system where we keep all the student information in. And so that's delayed notifications, but notifications should be going out next week to parents as it relates to that last round of choice notification, choice and magnet notification.
Okay. Sophia has a question. She asks, if we selected face-to-face instruction during previous email survey, can we still change requested instruction method to virtual only if we change our minds?
Yes, that's why on August the 24th, everyone is receiving the school messenger so that they can make that choice again, because the choice you made in June is totally different than the choice that a parent might make. And then even as we get closer to October 19th, parents will have one more opportunity to share with us if they want to change their selection.
Suzanne McAndrew has a question about technology and kids. What type of technology is recommended for parents to purchase, laptop or Chromebook? And she's primarily asking for kindergarten and first grade students, but if you could address it for all students, Dr. Lathan.
Pre-K2, we're providing iPads. 3-8, we're providing Chromebooks, and then high school students receive a laptop.
Okay. And from Anad, question, and Name, can you tell us the reason for delaying the opening of the school year? And asking this question because teachers were teaching online in the last semester. So why, if it's starting online, why any delay?
So a great question. The delay was, like I said, definitely based on the large number of positive cases in our city. And looking at data that was provided not only by our county health department, but also other medical sources that talked about when there's a spike, when there's a spike of positive cases, how many days it normally takes before you start to see that drop off. And then based on the guidance that we received from TEA, but with the number of weeks that we would have to transition, if you recall, it was kind of like a mandate that we really needed to open face-to-face. So delaying that was buying us some weeks so that we would have the delay to be able to operate online and then hopefully be able to start back face-to-face on October 19th. So it was all about timing and just praying that everything's going to align and that we're going to be a level 3 or level 4 by that time based on our county guidelines.
This question comes from Amy Davis. Will HISD non-teaching staff members like bus drivers, cafeteria workers, etc., be paid beginning September 8th, even though they will not be on campus working? Some of those employees, she says, say they have not been told what will happen with their jobs in the fall, but yet they are being denied unemployment benefits.
So bus drivers, custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers and cafeteria workers will be utilized to help us deliver meals. Not only help us with curbside service, but also delivering meals out at various locations. We actually started that this week. We were out at 2 locations out in actual apartment complexes where we were actually delivering food to students. So we will be working with them. I know that there's a meeting being scheduled with those employees to discuss what will be, basically you think about their work schedule in a virtual format for the first 6 weeks of school. But our goal is to keep all of our employees and to make sure that they have some type of assignment that will keep them gainfully employed and keep them receiving the paycheck that they had planned to receive if we were in face-to-face format.
Okay. Jean has a question about sanitation. She asks, are we adding extra sanitizing stations in the hallways, classrooms, automatic soap and water dispensers, paper towels instead of hand dryers, closed off water fountains, foot pulls for doors versus handles? Just how is sanitation being handled throughout the HISD campuses?
We are purchasing, of course, like I said, I've already talked about the PPE. So we're purchasing PPE, hand sanitizing stations. Every classroom, every teacher will have, or every office, every classroom will have hand sanitizer, wipes, gloves, masks, whatever, they'll have that. We are adding additional custodial staff to help with cleaning our bathrooms more frequently, cleaning high-touch areas. And even in our elementary schools, for example, if you go into the restrooms, we're installing separators or dividers between even sinks, so students are socially distanced. We've added signage, and we're adding it across the entire district to every campus. Elementary, of course, will be appropriate for elementary students, and middle and high school around social distancing, wearing a mask, washing your hands frequently. And so that's one area that we have spent and invested a large amount of money to make sure we are ready. I know we're still waiting on deliveries of wipes, but we are geared up and ready to go for October 19th.
Okay. Just a real quick note before we move on to our next question. For those of you who are on, if you're okay, comfortable with the video, you can use the raise your hand feature as well, and we'll be able to get you to ask a question if you use the raise your hand feature in the video. Next question. This is from Vanessa Aranda Rojas. She says extreme measures. Students cannot, if they cannot obtain technology, will they be required to attend face-to-face? Will the teacher be asked, I guess in that case, to be moved face-to-face, or can the teacher stay online?
Great question. Right now, in the guidelines by TEA, if we do not provide, if we cannot place technology in the hands of a student that needs it, we're supposed to offer of school, open a facility for that student or child to be able to access. Like I said, that's our goal. We are not mandating our teachers to come in. There will be some campuses that we might have to possibly open. We'll be working with principals and teachers and other staff that feel comfortable coming in, but it would be on a voluntary basis, not a mandate or making anyone feel uncomfortable or unsure. But I want to make sure people understand that we have guidelines that we have to follow that eventually become rules. And so a lot of decisions are based on abiding by those guidelines and those rules.
All right, Dr. Lathan, obviously still several weeks out from that start date, but any idea, and I know your goal is to get that technology in every child's hands, but at this point, do you have an idea, any kind of number of how many kids could actually be in that group that would not get technology and be needed face-to-face?
Basically, like I said, we're showing 23,000. We have, and we're waiting for up to 26,000. They're coming in increments that we will have on hand, up to about 26,000 devices. We will be ordering, we're actually placing another order for another round of devices for broken, lost devices. And so, like I said, as they come in, we're working on a plan now to get those deployed. Teachers are going to do an additional check-in when they report virtually on the week of August the 24th. But we're going to do what we can to make sure a child has a laptop or, like I said, other device in their hands. We're also partnering with some of our local churches, and we're going to be sharing additional information out about that within the next week or two of opportunities and options also for children to go to one of the local churches as a learning site.
From Dr. Vivian Cook, if a virtual teacher is providing learning, will the students' grades be returned to the school where they are enrolled? And how does that affect that school's overall EOC grade?
Yes, so the grade, thank you, great question. The attendance and grades follow the student. So whatever is their school of record, that is where those grades would be sent and that attendance would be recorded.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that answer. MM Reina asks, when children return tentatively in October, will the parents be required to sign a COVID-19 waiver of some sort?
No, not at this time.
No. Okay. Short and sweet answer. From Sophia, how accessible are teachers for the virtual classroom? Will students have real-time interaction if they have questions during the lessons?
Yes, students will have real-time interaction with their teachers. There will be times where the teacher will set up, like I said, whether it's small group instruction, and I'm using the term office hours, but like I said, it will vary based on that particular schedule. But there, just like you and I interacting tonight, there will be that live interaction. There will also be recording of lessons so parents can go back and students and view those lessons together in case there are additional questions. And I know I saw one that popped up on the screen that's aligned with this, is about students having time to submit assignments. Students will have each night up until 11:59 p.m. to submit their assignments.
Okay. All right. We hope they're in bed a lot sooner than that, but thankful they have the deadline that much time. From F Yang, F Yang says Connection Academy is an online school, but F Yang says that they were told that they cannot open because they're supported by HISD staff in administrative areas. Could you be specific to what kind of support, I believe the question is, HID could offer to that online school? Could HISD support Connections Academy to start on time on August 19th?
Texas Academy, Texas Connections is a HISD school. So they will start when all other HISD schools begin.
Okay. Okay. F. Yang, I hope that answers your question. Sonia Herlong says, for underserved students that do not get the adult attention necessary to confirm the students are properly educated, how will the district close the gap with students who are economically disadvantaged?
We will be providing academic tutors. They will be assigned to classrooms and to actually assigned to students to provide not only the students additional support, but teachers, so that the teacher could actually truly be interactive and engaging with students. And so those students identified academically needing additional support, just like we do when we provide face-to-face instruction, they will have tutors that will be working with them.
And just a reminder, everyone out there, if you're comfortable with the video and you want to ask a question verbally, again, you can use that raise your hand feature in the chat section. Again, the ground rules is make sure, everybody remains respectful and cordial. But if you're okay with using, asking that question verbally in the video, then raise your hand. You use the raise your hand feature and we'll try to get your question, get you to ask your question in person. We're going to move on to Willie Brooks. Willie Brooks says, as previously stated, you will be looking for additional space at different locations. Would HISD consider partnering with educational community nonprofit centers to help assist parents and children with virtual learning, equipped with social distancing measures, sanitized area, Wi-Fi, internet access?
So we're looking into that. Several of our partnerships, like I shared, partnerships with local churches. There are some partnerships with some other organizations. And the reason I'm saying other organizations is because things have not been finalized. But if there is an interest from a nonprofit and you have not been contacted, please follow up with our community development department. Ms. Naja Collender is the point of contact. So if you call, once again, if you can't remember anything else, call that 713-556 number, 713-556-4636. Leave your information and just say you needed to you're wanting to partner with HISD, your nonprofit, and please pass it on to the community development department.
Okay. Enid Guzman has a question. I think I know the answer to this because this was actually my story last night, but Dr. Lathan, I'm going to let you answer this question. Is the STAR test canceled?
Not that I'm aware of. Believe me, if I find out that it is, you all will be the first to know. My understanding, STAR test is still going to be administered next spring.
Yes. Yeah, from our understanding from the governor's directive yesterday is that the STAR test will still be administered. It's just the results will not determine whether a 5th or 8th grader moves on to the next grade or not. So they will still have to take it.
Yes.
And I believe schools will still be accountable for whatever the grades are, but it will not hold the student back if they were not to pass.
Yes, correct.
That sound correct, Dr. Lathan?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. We reported it truthfully then, good. This one is from Julie. What went into the decision for 6 weeks online? That she says that's longer than any other district. Is it longer than any other district? And regardless of the time, if that's the case or not, what went into the decision for 6 weeks online?
I believe it's probably longer than some of our surrounding districts. Several factors, like I said, went into it. Is like I said, the number of high or positive cases and the amount of time we were looking for those cases to go down. HISD is also on a 6-week grading cycle, and as you think about transitioning at the end of a grading cycle, the first 6 weeks. Completing that grading cycle will be October 16th. And so that was another factor to transition, because even when if parents were to select a virtual learning format, and let's say they want to switch back to face-to-face, we're going to be asking them to do that at grading cycles.
Okay, all right. We have our first video question, and we're going to have our first video question from Sandra Moten. Sandra, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Did we just pop her up in?
Hi.
Here we go.
Hi.
Mutan.
Hi, yes, Sandra Mutan, yeah.
Yes.
I was just curious as to what will be the protocol when a student or a teacher tests positive for COVID once face-to-face instruction is resumed?
A great question. So if a student reports or a parent that the student tests positive, the director of health and medical service working with the nurse at that particular campus, there are a series of health questions that are asked. That information is shared with the local health department. So if it is an isolated situation where it maybe only impacts that particular classroom, that class could be closed, cleaned, or portions of that building. If it's a case where it impacts the entire building, the building would be closed, sanitized. Students and teachers would switch over to remote learning within 24 hours. So basically the next day, a call out would go to parents. This is, okay, tomorrow, let's see, today's Tuesday. So tomorrow, Wednesday, July 30th, we will be on a virtual learning schedule. And then they will give the range or the dates of how long we would be in a virtual format for that particular campus. For those people who are from the Midwest, I call it our snow plan. That, you know, when if you were ever just lived in the Midwest, you know, when it was snow, sometimes you had delays. Same thing. We will switch over to that emergency plan.
Okay. Sandra, thank you for that question. Let's go with another video question. This one will be from Claudia L. Claudia L.
Yes, good afternoon. My son is a junior, and what I am completely concerned about is that, yes, online learning is going to be great for his math, for his science, for all the stuff that he can literally learn on the computer. But he's an artist. He does clay work. He's with HTVA. How are our kids that are having to do with music and art and ceramics and the ones that need the hands-on learning going to deal with this online?
And I mean, that's a great concern. I mean, and that's a valid concern as it relates to the online portion, like you said, with ceramics. And we're experiencing the same thing with students who are in career and technical education courses. So those students who are in CTE courses in collaboration with our partner HCC, some of those students will be brought in to work with their CTE teachers to get the necessary hours. As it relates to, I believe you said HSPVA, the music, some of those things can be done virtually, but we will work with students when they're back face-to-face to be able to do those different things, whether it's ceramics or any other type of art that is definitely hands-on. Our schools are prepared to be open when we have some designated breaks throughout the school year. They're identified on our calendar. If you look online, you'll see them highlighted in blue. And so where we might be taking a break, some people might be taking a break, our campuses are going to be open to provide instructions to those identified students that need to catch up or need additional support. And that includes our non-Title I campuses, like the HSPVA.
Claudia, thank you for that question. Great question. Next question will come from Suzanne McAndrew. Suzanne, Dr. Lathan asks, how will lunch be handled on the campuses, in their classrooms or distanced in the cafeteria?
Combination, but mainly in the classroom. Right now, at our elementary campuses, we provide breakfast in the classroom. We will be providing lunch in the classroom as well. And so staff members that normally worked in the cafeteria will help us as it relates to providing lunch in the classrooms. Teachers will still get their duty-free lunch. They'll still get their prep time. Everything that was afforded to them in face-to-face previously, they will still receive when we return. We're just going to have to modify schedules, and we're utilizing additional staff. They'll just be reassigned from the cafeteria to classrooms to support teachers and other staff members.
Okay. These have all been great questions. This is a really good one, though. This one comes from Christine Taylor. What advice do you have for parents about training our kids to wear masks in advance, for those kids who don't necessarily like to wear them?
Well, and I will say this from an adult also. So practice, 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 because it's difficult. I'm being very honest. It's difficult for me as an adult because of the fact sometimes those of you, and I'm not claustrophobic, but sometimes I do feel that way with the mask, but practicing and just letting students know, and our teachers and principals are going to be doing the same thing around the health risk that while we need to wear them right now, but just practicing with them. And, you know, we are looking at how do we celebrate students that are able to keep their mask on for a certain amount of time. So, you know how we teach behaviors, appropriate behaviors at the beginning of the school year? Well, that's another factor or another type of behavior that we'll be working with our students on.
This question is from Sophia. She asks, if students missed a virtual lesson, can they go back and review it, or can parents re-watch with them? How will the virtual classroom materials be given out? Would that happen through emails?
So they'll be able to go in through our learning platform and to retrieve those lessons that were already pre-recorded, or that were that lesson from that particular day. So yes, parents and students can watch those lessons at a later time.
Okay. This question from Amy. For students still on magnet school waiting lists, when will parents be notified if they are getting into their school of choice?
Those notifications should start going out next week. And can I add one other thing also, Keith, to that previous question about parents getting information? Also, we are encouraging every district parent to take our HISD parent course on virtual learning. It will launch Monday, August the 3rd, and we're asking parents to complete that course by September 8th, because it will provide them some of the questions you heard tonight. It will provide them the information they need to assist their child during virtual learning. And all of that information is on our district website on our reopening page.
Okay. Julie had a question. This one's broken up, so I think, but I remember the first part of it. She's asking if COVID rates were just, by a miracle, were to drop dramatically over the next few weeks, would kids be able to come back to the classroom in person before October 19th? And what would that look like, even logistically, if that could be handled?
So priority, of course, to special education students. So we've all held those discussions. We have identified who those students would be, but immediately it would be special education students. It would be our CTE students. So for example, students that attend Barbara Jordan Career and Technical Center, so that they're able to get, like I said, to get those hours in. So we've identified various either programming schools or special education students, or what we call tier 3 students who need additional support. Those will be the first group of students to possibly come in prior to October 19th.
Okay. Abby Walker has a question. She asks, as a working parent, we are trying to understand how we appropriately support our child's virtual learning experience. What mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning can we expect? And how will teachers work with families to ensure that every child has a schedule that not only ensures a rich learning experience, but one that can be accessed at home, realizing that young children need adult supervision?
Great question. So every school is required to create a daily schedule. And so that's by classroom teacher. That information will be shared with our school's office. We'll be reviewing it. There will be some standardization across elementary, middle, and high schools as it relates to the number of minutes, as it relates to the level of engagement. And that's another reason I'm asking parents to really take that course so that those questions could get answered. That way they will know also what questions to ask their classroom teachers, and they'll know what to look for daily when they're working with their child or if they need additional assistance. And also, and I keep saying this number because it's important, because we will have it staffed with, in English, Spanish, Arabic, and Vietnamese is our hotline. Call that number. It will be open daily from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if there's any doubt or any question when we get started virtually or even before, for parents to call that line, and we will work with them and walk down to our instructional technology department. We did this in the spring. They provided one-on-one lessons and instructions of walking parents through how to get online and how to get involved and interact with the various software platforms. I can keep talking.
All right, well, we have another video question. This one is going to come from F. Yang. So we'll give us a second to open your mic, and F. Yang, you can ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question about Connections Academy, but I don't feel that I got the answer, so I just ask again. So Connections Academy is an online school. In terms of teaching, they are very experienced, and there's no reason they cannot start. So my question is, for online school, why do they have to wait until, the local school opens? Because in terms of teaching, they're ready. So are you saying that when a school is ready, we have to wait for other schools?
Yes, Texas Connections is a HISD school. So the school year for HISD begins on Tuesday, September 8th. So they do have to wait, yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question, F. Yang, and Dr. Lathan. Thank you for the answer. This one comes. We're only have a few more minutes, so we'll get a few more questions in here. This one comes from Mark Longereau. Hope I pronounced that correctly. How will grading be done during the exclusive virtual learning? Are there concerns about taking grades when every student's learning experience will be so different?
Great. And I do want to go back, though, also to F. Yang to talk about, though, what we're offering for every HISD child from August the 24th through September 3rd, which is our Camp Spark, which is HISD at home, to get students engaged academically. So we will be providing almost 2 weeks of academic enrichment, K-12, for all of our students. And that information also will be pushed out on our reopening website and sent out to parents. As it relates to, I lost it, grading. So teachers are going to be required to provide grades. And that question is appropriate, that everyone's learning experience is different. But if you recall in the spring, it was kind of a whole harmless that whatever grade students had earned up to March the 12th, anything between March the 13th and the end of the school year did not hurt students. But we had students that were not actively engaged during that time. And so grades will count. And that's another reason we're adding academic tutors to support those students who need additional support. But there is a requirement that attendance will be taken and also grades will be administered.
Okay. A couple more minutes. We have time for one more video question. This one comes from Blanca Gonzalez.
Hi, yes. How are you guys doing today? So my question is, what are the measures going to be when the kids go back to school? Like, I know some schools are going to be saying that they have to take their temperature before they walk in. I have a middle schooler, so, it's not cool to walk your kid into school. So how are, what are the measures going to be taken for the kids to actually get back into the classrooms?
Great question. So it is going to be standardized across the entire district that we will at entries. So, middle schools have several entries, also high schools. And so there will be a staff member checking your child's temperature, ensuring that they provide them with a mask and working with them as they enter into the building. But that will, we'll be doing that across all of our district campuses.
Okay. I know we have time for at least one more. We'll go ahead and give this one from Vamala. Will the assessment be the same for in-class and virtual learning? Will there be group work assigned virtually?
Yes, that's a great question. There will be group work assigned virtually. There will be different types of assessment based on, of course, teacher decision, and then also some district level assessments. But there will still be group assignments like you would normally find in face-to-face, through face-to-face instruction.
And this one from El Hoey. Will the parent learning on August 3rd, will that also be in other languages for your multilingual speakers?
Yes, English, Vietnamese, Spanish, and Arabic.
Okay. And let's see, I just want get as many questions in there as possible. From Melissa, can you give us an idea how many minutes per day students will be online?
Oh gosh, I know, and I know this answer. Just give me a chance. Let's see, minutes per day. Look, you see, I'm looking for my book. Keep talking. I'm coming. I want to make sure.
Okay, the question is, how many minutes per day will students have to be online?
Just keep talking. I'm coming with the answer because I want to make sure I give you the right one for the grade level, and I don't freak someone out.
So it sounds like it's going to be dependent on grade level.
It is dependent on grade level. And so there's a block of time, and I'm going to my handy instructional continuity manual that also we have that information online on our district reopening website. And I was hoping I could find it because I know it. But it varies, like I said, from grade level to grade level. There's an amount of time for pre-K 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and then 9, 12.
Okay, can you repeat that again real quick, Dr. Lathan?
The minutes are pre-K 2. So there's a certain number of minutes for pre-K 2, certain number of minutes for 3, 5, for 6th through 8th grade, and then for our high school students.
Okay, but they can go to the district website to find that information?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes. There should be information under the district website. There should be information under the instructional continuity plan. It should have highlights and should talk about that. There should be information for parents, and it should be on the reopening website.
Okay, and
I'm looking while you ask me another question forward.
Okay, I'll ask this question. This one probably will be the last. This one is going to come from James Fuller. He says he has a physical education question. What about physical growth? And I'm assuming that's just physical activity for students while they're in virtual learning.
Right. So even in the spring, our physical education teachers actually gave out assignments to students. So there were different things, and they gave them options around, okay, walk around the block so many times, or walk around your neighborhood, do the, jumping jacks. So there are still ways to be engaged physically, even in a virtual format.
Okay. And the PE teachers will hand out those assignments just like any other class, correct?
Yes, they have a roster just like an English teacher or a math teacher.
Okay. All right. All right. And with that, that will be our last question. I just want to thank all of you, Dr. Lathan, and every single participant for your great questions and the interaction this evening. We really hope that this conversation was helpful and informative. If you have any other questions that weren't answered, or if you have more questions, you can feel free to submit those to our website, click2houston.com, under the Ask To section. And of course, Dr. Lathan, that we have the district website as well to answer a lot of questions we know. You could also check click2houston/back-to-school to look for any other information you may still have questions about. Again, we just thank all of you for being a part of it. Thanks for taking your time, Dr. Lathan, and all the participants as well. And we truly hope that we all have a great school year. Thanks again.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you.
All right.